Have you ever been brought to tears by something you found on the internet? What Lisa Louise Cooke will show you today can help you to have that deep and lasting impact in your family history research. This actually happened to me. It was like, I still consider it the greatest internet moment today. Did you hear what I said? Lisa Louise Cooke of Genealogy Gems podcast and YouTube channel is here with us right now. How are you today? Welcome to Genealogy Quick Start. I am Shamele, your host. You can watch us on Philly Cam, YouTube, and now we're back on Facebook. Woo! Sorry about Facebook watchers, had a little issues there, but we are back. So what do we have going on today? Let's talk about our quick starts. First, oops, I'm not Jim Beidler. Hold on. Where are our quick starts? So let's see. Our quick starts for today. We have two of them, which for some reason I don't have my little blurb. I will tell you them. Old school. First is OCR. Oh, see yourself searching digital newspapers. Jim and Michael are going to share this interesting way to search using OCR logic, and you might get more results. Then we have visualizing your ancestors with Google, and that will come from our special guest, Lisa Louise Cooke. And wow, she's going to wow you. This isn't some light stuff here. Everybody thinks, oh, Google visualizing images. No, this is some serious stuff here that can really make some changes in your research. But before we get there, let me bring out my buddy. Where is he at? Jim Beidler, columnist, editor, Jim Beidler. How are you today, Jim?
I'm ready to be slamming because we're going to be talking about a newspaper topic.
And can I ask you a question? Why do you always talk about newspapers?
Because I was a first career journalist.
Yeah.
I mean, truth be known, my 7th grade English teacher set me up for a life in journalism. When she wrote on one of my themes, you really ought to consider. You write so well, you should consider being a journalist. And I sat on that idea until my junior year in high school, and then I caught on it as a copy boy at the old Reading Times in Reading, Pennsylvania, and then later was a copy editor for close to 20 years in Birmingham, Alabama, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That's so when I tell people about obituaries, I have seen how the sausage is made. Because I did the obituary page for quite a number of years at the Patriot in Harrisburg.
Did you cry all the time like you did the obituary page?
No, but I did a lot of swearing when they wouldn't fit the way I wanted to. So.
You were removed from it. You were being a professional. Good for you.
Exactly. Well, a story I'll try to keep short. One of the things was, while I was doing that, we were in the crunch time where the World War II generation was starting to die. We were exploding, and so we had to have a very specific style. This is before today's paid obituaries. We had a very specific style. Things like you can't name your nieces and nephews as survivors. You can only say they had nephews, and you can't say somebody's hobby was reading because everybody reads, which is questionable today. And what it led to.
No, we just forward. We just share.
And what it led to was paid obituaries, where now, as long as you're willing to pay for it, you can run as much about a person as you want to.
Name those nieces and nephews.
Exactly. even half nieces and nephews. Yeah.
Yes.
Whatever that is.
Go for it. All right. So, we're not going to just forget that Michael isn't here today. I'm sorely missing Michael, but he will be back. Just so that you know. And before we get started, no, I didn't forget. You guys should know better. I need to know who's here. Let us know who's here and where you're at. And if you have a genealogy group that you is your spot, let us know so we can share with others, because there may be genealogy souls waiting to connect. So let's see, who do we have here? Wayne and Grace Ann are first. How are you, Wayne and Grace Ann from down the street? Camden County Historical Society. Guess who I was just talking to 5 minutes ago? The Camden County Historical Society. I love it there. Hello, Dean from Philly. And hello, Mrs. Heavens from California, Compton, California African American Genealogical Society. I got to get out there and hang out with you guys one day. Hello, June Hall from Shaker Heights, AAG. S in Cleveland. You're the first of Debbie's to get on here. Hello, Walnut Creek Works of Jackson County, West Virginia. This is my first time seeing you. Took 10 minutes to open up the live YouTubes. I'm so sorry about that, Walnut Creek. But Walnut Creek sounds like one of those places where everybody just chills out. I could feel it. Hello, Roberta Fox in Orlando, Florida. I got to get down there and visit my friends. Hello, Denise Osborne from AAGG in Philly. And let's see. Hello, Amanda White from Colfax, Grand Parish, Louisiana. Louisiana is one of my dream spots. I'm coming. Hello, Lakewood, Colorado. We have Carol there. We have Deborah Parker Sparrow from Columbus. Guess what? Jim and I, we are all about OGS right now, right, Jim?
Yep. Gonna be at Kalahari next April 2023.
I am looking forward to going back to Sandusky. All right, Jim, let's get going with this quick start that you are calling. You know, I laughed at this title, like not in a funny, like, you know, I laughed at it. I wasn't laughing with you guys, but it's growing on me. OCR, OC yourself, searching digital newspapers. So what's this all about, Jim?
Well, if I had to shimmy it down to it's the elevator speech on it, it's that there's a lot of pitfalls to newspaper searching, and so you better be prepared to run a lot of searches to make sure you're not missing articles or mentions about your research subjects in newspapers.
Yeah, newspapers are just unbelievably delicious, and I feel like you're gonna make it like even better. So
yeah,
I hope I can hold on, like Lisa Louise. I'm gonna try not to leave you and stay, but Jim's tips, I tried not to even focus in on them, but I'm gonna try to wait till 4 o'clock. But I'm looking forward to this, Jim, because newspapers hit my soft spot. It makes you feel like you're a seer of the past when you start telling people stuff that you found in the newspaper and all you did was do a little search, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you had helped contribute to my book, Finding Family Tree Historical Newspapers Guide, because you had such good anecdotes about finding some of your people.
I forgot. I'm in your book.
Yes, you are. Of course you are.
I forgot all about that. That's so cool. I'm so excited. I got to go actually buy your book. No, I'm just kidding. You know I have your book. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go and do step 1, which I actually cannot find my title for, but the step 1 is to choose a place and
time and place. The crosshairs of genealogy. So it's where we start an awful lot of our quick starts, because you need, I always say, you're searching for needles in haystacks, and it's a matter of how narrow the haystack you make. You might miss the needle, or how broad that haystack is that there's so many in there that aren't your needle, that it becomes overwhelming. And trying to get the right sweet spot, time and place help you with that.
Think of those crosshairs, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that's step 1 is, time and place. And so then step 2 is to find newspapers reasonably close. So do you have any, because there's so many newspapers, I feel like it's a bottomless pit of joy, actually. how do you kind of narrow down on
Yeah.
what the best newspapers
Yeah,
are?
and this is a real crucial step because even before the kind of great decline of newspapers that's happened the last 20 years, it was already true that the newspapers, say circa year 2000, were not necessarily the biggest newspapers in communities circa 1900, circa 1850, or whenever you were actually researching. And the best tool that you can go to for historical newspapers is on Chronicling America, the
Woo!
Chronicling America site, and you need to go to the U.S. newspaper directory. There's a little click on Chronicling America to go to that newspaper directory, and then once you're there, you can narrow things down by time period. You can narrow things down to just a particular county or a particular city within the county, or excuse
Yeah.
me, first of all, state,
State.
then county, then city. You can also throw in limiters like ethnic or a African American newspaper, something like that. Language of the newspaper, near and dear to my heart with German ancestors, because those German language newspapers a lot of times are more rich about my ancestors than the English language ones. You just have a lot of parameters, and that, keep it as broad as you can, as broad as your appetite's going to tolerate,
And
because you don't want to miss some.
and let's talk about, ethnic newspapers and language, different language
Yeah,
newspapers.
yeah.
You don't want to necessarily limit yourself to place, right?
Right, right. Well, it's because whether it's African American ones or German language ones, a lot of times these newspapers circulated over larger areas because they had a substantial subscription base by mail. So uh, your Pittsburgh and Chicago African American newspapers really
Huge.
were metro newspapers, not same with Philly
Mhm.
Tribune
Tribune.
in yeah. So and same way with the German language ones. Are the ones I have the most knowledge about, and yeah, there were ones, and a lot of times they were reflected in their nameplates. I believe it was the Illinois Stadtzeitung that is it's Chicago based, but it would cover all of Illinois. And a lot of times these
Okay.
newspapers would have news of communities from whence the
They
people
came
came
from.
from. Yeah, African
Mm.
Americans coming up to the north in the Great Migration, Germans coming over from Germany. I have a great page from the Scranton. I almost said Scranton, like German. The Scranton Wochenblatt. That's an entire page of Germany-based news from all the
Wow.
different, going all around all the different provinces, and some pretty micro happenings that the people who were immigrants in America were wanting to keep up with.
Okay, so it looks like to get your list going on by going to Chronicling America.
Hmm.
Yes, you can search titles as opposed to searching for your people. Get
Yes.
out of that
Yep.
habit. Oh my gosh, you're looking at the directory of newspapers, right, Jim?
Yep. Yep.
All right. So that's step two. Let's move on to step three, which is to think of reasonable OCR variants. Okay, here we're getting good. What does this mean?
Okay. Well, this is helpful to know what the technology of OCR is. What it is it builds a second skin over a digitized page of a newspaper, with all the words represented as have been automatically read in the OCR process. So there will be errors a lot of times because the printing of that digital page is not perfect, and we'll see in the example a little bit later how much they can morph things. But also, let's see. Yeah, I think I want to bring it up here before we get to the variance as part of this. Is you also have to craft your search terms to account for, if you've got a John Smith ancestor you're looking for. Well, you better hope you know John Smith's occupation
Yeah.
or an address he lived at, or
Yeah.
or his wife whose name's Minerva, something like that you can then throw in to not get a zillion and a half hits. So
Okay.
yeah, but let's look at the variants. And that's and here we're starting with the uppercase letters, and in some cases there are numbers that are variants. And the first one here, the capital B and the capital H. Well, OCR will misread the B if the inking on that copy of that got digitized was not perfect, and the top and the bottom weren't read right. And you just go down the list here, and so what you'll need to do in some cases, say you have a man's name Barnabas. Well, you're going to also want to do a search for Harnabas.
And Arnabas.
Yeah. So, because you're going to want to do some of these oddball things, especially if you're not coming up with things right off the bat. But really, you should be doing it either way to try to make sure you get all the possibilities.
Instead of Donald, Gonald, and
Yeah.
Donald.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and Zero Arnold. Yeah.
All right. So those are the uppercase letters. You want us to look at the lower ones now?
Yeah. Let's go to them. And it's the same. It's different ones, and this will depend somewhat. If in compiling this list, which we put in the book, it's somewhat dependent on the font that was used. And when we get to the example from German, you'll see the German language newspapers in most cases until close to World War II, were printed in what they call the Fraktur font, which is much different than our Times or Calibri or Helvetica, some of the very common ones today. And so that makes a difference. But yeah, you can get a lot of misreads, and this isn't just ancient history. Well, when my dad died in 1996 and we filed his obituary, apparently that went through OCR from the funeral home to the newspaper, and he is recorded as being a resident of Bem Township, BEM, when it was really Bern Township, BERN. So like I say, that's that's even up to the modern day, depending on how these processes are deployed.
Okay, so whatever you think the machine might have like flubbed up, just switch that letter out.
Yeah,
you can have like 1,000 variants here.
You can have a lot of variants, and like I say, you start by playing your search straight, and we have a in the fourth step, we have creating a list of search terms and ways to search. That's real important to make sure that you track this as part of your research log.
Yes.
Because that way, because at some point you're going to come back and say, well, what did I search?
Yeah.
And you're going to be clawing into your, if you're like me, you're going to be clawing into your 62-year-old brain, and it's going to be coming back nothing. So you want to have that log that you can see everything that's going on.
And once you create it, like the name is the name and the variant is the variant, you just reuse that again and again. You're kind of like creating a template, a search template for that. Right.
Because you may well be running this through the newspapers on Chronicling America, the ones on old Fulton postcards, newspapers.com, Genealogy Bank, Newspaper Archive. So yeah, it's that to be most efficient with it, you're going to need to to keep track of all those searches.
Okay. So, and then step 5 is to execute and track results.
Yeah. Well, this is working on it, and here's where I want to show you my humdinger of an example. Yeah, you got to love some of these old uh, newspapers' names, and especially the Germans, because Germans are anal retentive. They're always teutonically thorough. And this is from a newspaper that's titled Der liberale Beobachter und Berks Montgomery und Schuylkill Counties Allgemeine Anzeiger. Just call it the Liberal Observer, and all notices. That's what it was saying.
Okay, so this is a list of marriages.
Yeah, verheiratet. And this is from the March 30th, 1841 edition. And one of the reasons why I was even going to newspapers on these is this was in a time period that the church that a lot of my mother's people were worshiping at, their minister didn't keep a record book. But he did send his messages into the newspapers. Yeah. So here we have 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 different marriages, and that's helpful too, because you can get a good sampling of this Proctor font, and ones where it may misread on one, it won't misread on another, and you can get something good. And it's the very last one that we'll go to a blow up of. And that one, it reads by the Reverend Mr. Isaac Misi, on the 9th of March. Mr. Now, the name as he gave it to the newspaper, Emaus. Well, his name was Amos, like the Old Testament prophet. But it's phonetically similar in German to this. Amos Mockmer with Miss Katharina Bickel, both from Bern Township. And here Bern is not Bem, it's Bern. So
Bern, okay, they got the Bern right. Okay.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I knew this marriage existed. And then when I went to try to get it for an example, I was doing a search. This newspaper's on Chronicling America, and I am not finding emails, because I knew it was this odd spelling of Amos, and filling in Emaus Mockmer, can't find it anything. So finally, I think I used Mockmer and Bickel and found it, and then on the next slide. You'll see one of the things that some newspaper databases do is there's a key you can click where it brings up how the OCR actually read the page. And in this case, you can see all the misreads. Now, in the German Proctor font, there are a lot more misreads than there are on the English Fox. And one of them that's crucial here is that his first name was missed as Eniaus. Instead of the M was read as an NI. So I was never going to find that by doing emails. Like say I list here the workarounds to just look for the wife's name, the pastor's name, the location Bern, which yes they did right here, and along with say just the surname. So this is sophisticated stuff. But if you really want to use newspapers to their best capability, you're going to have to do all these different searches. And we have a question. Amanda was asking, what's step 4? It's create a list of search terms, ways to search based on those substitute interchangeable records, creating the list of Barnabas, Harnabas, etc., for you to plug into the search function of what you're looking for. Another way around that, I should say too, is if it's a search that allows wildcards, like asterisk and things like that, then you can sometimes substitute the asterisk for the letters that may interchange, and then you're going to be able to cut down on the number of searches you need to do.
I love that step. Yeah, because that's like a nice template. Like we need those in our what we all call toolboxes now.
Absolutely.
All right, that's a great example. Did you guys have any questions, or did you have any interesting OCR finds? You found something because, oh, I just changed this one little letter. Genealogists love to just change that one little letter story. Let's go on to step 5, which is to execute and track your results. Jim, how do you track all this? Because you're in the newspapers all the time. How do you keep all that stuff organized?
Yeah, well, it's by, I try to do it by the person I'm searching for. Keep a log of what I'm searching, because you're, like I say, you're usually going to have to go to multiple databases to make sure. No, don't put Michael John Neill up there.
You're too quick.
Yeah, so by the person, and as I said earlier, not just the spelling variations, but then also other things I know about them, other names in the family, occupation, where they lived. Those are other items that you may be able to annotate the search with to give you that nice funnel down to a manageable number of search results to look for.
How do you save your files and organize them? You save them all on like by family, by project? Like how do you organize that?
By family.
Okay.
Yeah, by family. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Fantastic. What's step 6? Of course, we're going to do some evaluations like you did. I love this looking at the OCR. So let's talk about that. Can you look at this on newspapers, like the main ones, newspapers.com or Genealogy Bank?
I don't have the current information. I know Chronicling
Okay.
America has
Chronicling America, you said, has it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Library of Congress, they would give us that extra.
Exactly. I know when I did my book, now that was 4 years ago, that I remember newspapers.com not having it, but that they were studying it.
Okay.
And Genealogy Bank, again, I think they were studying it, but we're pessimistic about whether they would add it. So yeah. So, and hey, let's see. We got a question here. Looking for people in Cincinnati area, 1830, 1835. One German, one not. Can't find anything. Advice. The first thing I'd say is make sure you're also looking at German language newspapers, because Cincinnati was an absolute hotbed. And a lot of them have been abstracted from by the Hamilton County Genealogical Society. They're a real powerhouse group, and they've published abstracts to some of them. I don't know if they have them online or not, but they would be a good resource for you.
Fantastic. Let's see. Was that the last step? Yes. Let's run through the steps. If you guys have other questions, put them in the chat. So these are the quick start for OCR. See yourself searching digital newspapers. And don't go start searching them now. Just hold on for about 30 minutes, because I know you're like me. You're ready to search, but you don't want to miss this. So step 1 is choose a time and place. Step 2 is to find newspapers reasonably close. Go to Chronicling America's directory. Step 3, create a list of search terms and ways to search. Think about those variants. Step 4, think of reasonable OCR variants. Step 5, execute and track results. And step 6 was to evaluate your results. So that was your quick start for OCR. Jim, thank you. That was a lot of fun.
You're welcome, Shamele.
All right. I'll see you shortly. Hello again. Did you guys like that? Oh my God. I am so ready to like make my little template of like my families and stuff because I see that R and N kind of connecting often. You know, I have names like that. I need to think about that. So let me put this up so we can get going with Google. Don't you love Google? All right, give me a second. All right, our special guest today is Lisa Louise Cooke. Lisa Louise is the producer of Genealogy Gems podcast and YouTube channel. She is a trailblazer, in my opinion, and what I say, you know, is important because she is a trailblazer. She was such a trailblazer and such a welcome presence at all of these genealogy conferences, in the exhibit halls, and I'm going to bring her out here so I can thank her personally. Hello, Lisa Louise.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me to your show. I am so excited.
I'm so excited to have you here. I remember, I think the first time that I heard you actually speak was at OGS conference, and you were talking about something near and dear to my heart. I had done a Civil War project of soldiers buried, and you were talking about you making maps and using Google Earth. And
yes,
I was just so, and you know what you did for me? This is what you did for me. People corner me. They trap me to force me to teach them how to do Google Earth and Google. I'm serious. I won't name them on this show, but they know who they are. You guys know who they are. And you created DVDs and CDs and downloadables to teach them. I am grateful to you for that.
Oh, see, that's why we connect so well, because you love maps and Google Earth and things like I do. Because there again is another example of visualization, right? Visualizing your family, your data in all new ways. And I remember I've been at several of those OGS conferences, and it's always a blast to share that kind of idea, with people. And we're going to do more of that today. More
Yes,
Googling.
yes, because it's so accessible, right?
Yes,
It's so
yes.
accessible. So let's talk about visualize your ancestor with Google. So first, before we get started, I forgot. Oh my God, we cannot go until I ask you. We always ask our special guests, what is your 1-minute genealogy story? Meaning, how did you get started and how did you know you were hooked?
How many genealogists do you know who can tell any story in 1 minute or less?
You.
No, I don't know. So my 1 minute story is I was about 8 years old, and I had gone to my grandparents' house for the summer for 2 weeks. And it was really hot, and they didn't have, air conditioning. And I was we called it the back room, where it was dark. And I was sitting on the floor, and I was looking through grandma's shelving units. And of course, I could see the stuff on the bottom shelf. And it was all these old scrapbooks I'd never seen before. So because I'm a curious kind of kid, I would start pulling them off the shelf, and I look at them and I'm thinking, who are these people? And they're all in black and white. They're not color pictures like we have. And so I went racing into the kitchen and said, Grandma, who are these strangers and where's my picture? And I'll never forget, Shamele, her tossing her kitchen towel over her shoulder. Come on, sweetheart. And she takes me in the living room, and she grabs a letter off of my grandfather's little end table where he always had his papers and stuff. And she turns it over and starts saying, those are my people. Let me tell you. Now, I don't know. And she starts telling me the names and what she remembers and places in Germany and phonetic spellings of names that she doesn't even know how to spell, because she was born in the US 3 years after they got here in 1910. So I'm watching this woman who I love and adore and think knows everything in the universe. I'm thinking, this is so amazing. And these are my people too. And she doesn't have all the answers. Oh my gosh, I need to find answers for Grandma. And I literally, became the only kid in grade school using my allowance to buy death certificates. I was obsessed. And I had my little kid shoebox, and I'd put my papers in there and carry it around. I've been doing it ever since. And, thank you, Lord, for letting me make a whole career out of it, because I get to do this all the time. And I'm happy to report I was able to answer lots of Grandma's questions.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
so I still am. I'm still finding stuff. Yeah.
It's never ending. I met one person at the Alabama State Archives that said he was done. He was just there to help other
Oh,
people.
you kind of feel bad for them if they say they're done, huh?
It is sad, but
Yeah.
it was weird. But on to visualize your ancestors with Google. So step one is, what do you want to visualize?
Yes.
So what, why did you get even started with this? What, got you into using Google to visualize?
I am a very visual person. I like seeing things, and I feel like if I can see things in different kinds of ways and turn it upside down and backwards and forwards, I'm going to see something I didn't see before, right? And back when I first started the podcast back in 2007, what I noticed was
Did you say 2007?
Yes. Can you believe it's been that long? It's been like 15 years.
Okay, I'm sorry.
At the time, I don't know if you remember, but the conference people would say, we don't do tech here.
I know. I remember.
Right? The internet, not everything's on the internet.
Right.
Well, duh. But the internet is where you go to find out where stuff is. And maybe you'll get lucky and it'll be on the internet, and maybe you won't, but you'll know exactly where to go and how to get in touch with them and look at their catalog. So I just started specializing in what I love to do, which is all the tech stuff and all the stuff that was online at the time, and trying to help people get over their fears. That was back in the day where people were just like, I'd never used a computer growing up. I don't know what to do. And that became kind of my little gift to try to give to people, because I was having some luck with it. So the idea of visualizing, that's where Google Earth I got into so quickly, and then Google Search. Could I not just look for text in Google Search? Could I find pictures? When Google first came out, of course, there wasn't a whole lot. But today, mother load, right? I mean, it's limitless. And here's the great news. In the last 5 minutes that we've been talking about, maybe a couple 100,000 images got posted online. So it's constantly evolving, right? There's always going to be something more. It never ends, which I'm very excited about. So I want everybody watching to think about all those papers and those documents and those binders they have, and look at them in a new, fresh way. What are you reading that you've never seen? Is it a place? Is it a business? Is it a person? Is it a family? Is it the house, the kind of house they lived in? I mean, for me, I can read stuff, but if I could visualize it too, then it becomes real, it becomes tangible. I can start to identify with it. I get curious. I want to learn more. So that's what I want everybody to do, is first look and see, do you have a journal or a death certificate or a book or something, and pick the person, the place, the topic. It doesn't have to be a person. Pick that first. And one of the things I did, and you can see in step one, is with my husband's grandfather, Raymond Cooke. He had written, get this, Shamele, oh my gosh, when he was like 94 years old, he wrote a 12-page kind of autobiography.
Oh, bless him.
Yes. And kept it. I got a copy of it. And so I decided, this is an amazing gift. I want to see what he's talking about. So that was the item that I selected.
Okay. So that's step one. You pick something, and then you want to move on to step two, which is to identify the searchables. What are searchables? Microsoft Word tried to tell me that searchable is not a word. I said, Louise Cooke said it's a word.
I said it was a word. Sorry.
What are searchables?
Searchables are things that are conducive to searching online. That's my opinion. I mean, and Google search would call those keywords. But really what I'm doing is I'm looking at this document, and I had transcribed it and I had a copy of it on Word. I went and I just circled and bolded, what are those searchable things that I could go out and look for, right? And go search for. So I picked people and places and things. And then, the trick, I think, is to then, with each query, you focus on one of them. Okay. And in the case of Raymond, one of the things he talked about in that autobiography was this amazing event that his father was involved in. And I think it was in 1895. They lived in England at the time. He was like a year old. And it was when cars were coming into existence, and they called them horseless carriages. And the man that his father worked for, Sir David Solomon, in Tunbridge Wells in Kent, England, he was very well to do. He was a real Renaissance man. He was out over on the continent talking to people who were developing these cars, like Daimler, who was inventing the Mercedes-Benz. And he said, we need to bring this to the people of Kent. And so we are going to have a big horseless carriage exhibition. And I thought, this is an amazing event. I know his father was Raymond's father was very involved in it, because he was like the first auto mechanic. In fact, they built the first garages that were ever put in Kent at this gentleman's estate. And so Harry would have been there. He told his son about it. He was very proud of being a part of it, and how it just revolutionized the world for people in Kent. So I want to see, what does that look like? And, could I even prove that Harry was there or see a picture of him? So that's going to be my searchable. And what everybody can do is they're looking through their item, get a little notepad, get a Word document or sticky note, and just make a list of what those kind of keywords are. So in our step 3, I'll show you how we use some of the keywords.
It's like you're going to make a storybook. Because think about, our families do not want to read. We read tweets, we read Instagram, we read Facebook. We are not going to read 12 pages. Maybe like later, you might read 12 pages. You're going to guard those 12 pages like, it's the Holy Bible. Nobody can touch it. But this is a good way to kind of think of it as being like a picture book.
That is so well said, because you're right. I mean, if we don't make it something more digestible to the non-genealogists, they'll never get on board. They'll never appreciate, and they won't take care of our stuff when we're gone.
And they'll keep conflating things and turning them into other things. But I'm not going to, don't get me started. Okay. Let's move on to step 3. So we have our searchables. You say, add search operators. What does that mean?
Search operators, and I talk about this a lot in the book. There are a lot of them. We're going to use a couple of the most commonly used, I think will work well in this kind of a search. And basically, you might have heard of Boolean search operators. Google just tends to call them search operators because they are specific to Google. So not everything that would work at Ancestry is going to work at Google. You have to get familiar. That's a big deal, because like wildcards that we use at Ancestry, that's not going to fly on google.com. So you need to know how to talk Google's language. And we do that by putting our words into the search box. You can see I put in horseless carriage exhibition. That's what he called this event. Tunbridge, which I didn't put Tunbridge Wells because sometimes it was just called Tunbridge and sometimes Tunbridge Wells. And so what I did to tell Google that this is an exact phrase. Have you ever run a search and gotten horseless over here and carriage over here? And there's absolutely no rhyme or reason. There's no context.
Right.
I want Google to understand it's a horseless carriage exhibition, and only websites that have that or only images that have that should come back to me. So I'm going to put quotes around that. And that also tells Google it's got to be spelled the way I'm spelling it. So I can do that around an individual word, like I did it with Tunbridge.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, why did you put quotes around Tunbridge? That's saying, spell it like this, Google. Don't give me anything else.
Yes, because if you don't, you're going to get, there was a horseless carriage exhibition in Montreal and Roger Tunbridge was there. I don't want right? I don't need Roger.
Okay.
So I want Tunbridge.
How do you know you don't need Roger?
Well, I know. He might be a nice guy. But as you guys said, time and place.
Yes.
So place is Tunbridge, and time is, and I really want just the one that happened in Tunbridge. That's why we make it exact. And then the time. Okay, so you can't really explain to Google what the time frame is, but you can do a num range search. That's what they call it. And if you think about a year as a 4-digit number, that will work. So that's why we really gear all this to genealogical type searching. I want to get in between 1893 and 1896. There's a chance maybe somebody published some announcements prior, right? Could have been pictures or documents, and there might have been some pictures after. So I'm just going to narrow it in. I'd put 1893 ... 1896. And my friends, there's no spaces in there.
Okay.
And it's not a dash. Don't do a dash. You need 2 periods on your
Okay.
keyboard. Now we've explained to Google, it's got to have this phrase, it's got to have this place, and it has to mention a 4-digit number on that image or page that
Oh,
falls within that range. Isn't that
okay.
awesome?
That's awesome. This is granular
Yeah.
as heck, man. I just throw them things in there and think I'm doing something. This is
But
serious.
that's why we get, 25 million results and we go, heck, Google's not going to help me with genealogy. Forget it. It's too much. We don't have time for that, right?
Okay, so we have our search operators. Let's move on to step 4, which is to run our search.
Yes. So we're going to press enter on our keyboard and let Google process that. We've given it the words and explained what to do with those words, whether to make them mandatory, what order to put the words, that whole thing. And what we're getting is typically text that shows us there are web pages, right? Now, these days, if there are several photographs out there, they may feature those on the home results under web, or we can click image results and just strictly look at images. So notice here, my first result, as far as just a web page, now I've got the date. He didn't know the exact date. It was October 15th of 1895.
Yeah.
David Solomon's, turns out he was a big deal. He was the mayor of Tunbridge Wells. They had a horseless carriage exhibition, but look below.
I love
Oh
this.
my word. And I have to tell you, Shamele, I hadn't run this search for a while. I was like screaming the day that I put this together and sending it to you because half of these images were not there the last time I searched.
What?
Yes. So while I have a single photograph in the family from that event that I actually got off of eBay years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Now we see documents where they're the entire program of the event. I don't know if it was like a printed program. There's photographs. So we want to take a second to take a look at this. No, we're looking at web. We can look at some of these images, or we can click the images link and look at all of the images. And I think that takes us to step 5, doesn't it?
And that'll take us to step 5,
Analyze.
which is to analyze the results. So let's go to that next slide. Here we are. Oh, I love this. It looks like they're dining. It doesn't look like they're like, which way is it going?
What? The car? It looks like it could go either direction.
Yeah.
But get this. Okay, so I've clicked images. I'm now looking at just the pictures that are online that are matching this result. And do you see how the guy on the right has a white beard, a big hat? That's Daimler. That's the guy who invented the Mercedes-Benz. The guy sitting to his left in the front is Sir David Solomon.
Oh my gosh.
Now, you have to think, the guy who is helping with the cars, just a few years ago, his job would have been being a blacksmith and taking care of horses and carriages. That's the man standing behind the carriage. Do you see him? So think of it. Normally, he'd be standing there holding the horse. Well, now he's like, I'm watching over this car, making sure it doesn't take off. That's Harry Cooke.
Oh my gosh.
His father. He is not the main part of this picture. He's just a side note. I mean, they were taking this picture of the important dudes in the car.
Yes.
But that's Harry doing his job, standing by and protecting Sir David Solomon and making sure that car doesn't take off and that it will still run when they need it to run. And can you believe that?
That is unbelievable. You just gave me chills.
I know.
I didn't even think he was going to be in here. Like, you're looking for the object and the event, and you end up having a picture of him.
And you end up with a picture, perhaps, of your relative. And here's the thing. If I saw almost no results here, you don't stop there. That analysis tells you you have been maybe too restrictive on your search operators. You got a little excited about what Lisa told you and put quotes all over everything, and all of a sudden you got nothing. So here's my tip is when you analyze these results, depending on how much you're seeing, if there's way too much, you're probably a little too broad. We need to add a few more restrictive things. If you have almost nothing, take some of the quotes off.
Peel it back.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Oh my goodness. You did not tell me that he was in this picture.
I know I didn't. And you know what the crazy thing is I told you years ago, 10 years ago, I was running searches on eBay and I found that picture, but it was actually a sepia tone color picture. It was like the
Okay.
original. The picture you saw online was actually printed. It was printed in a magazine. And you can click through those and look
Oh
at that.
yeah, let's take a look at the close-up. I didn't even
Yes.
show you the close-up.
And so when you click through, you can acquire the image. Step 6 takes us, we click that image, go and find out where is this coming from. It happens to be reprinted in an article from Autocar. That is not exactly the same photograph I have, but it's almost identical.
Yes.
So that tells me, there were more than just one photograph taken at this event. And here they are slowly seeping online. And what we can do is you can right click on an image that's on the web and you can save it to your hard drive.
Mhm.
You can check and see, do they list a source? Where did they get the image?
Yeah.
And you can also check and see, they may have a copyright statement on there. And of course, you want to use all the, if you really have a question about it and you're concerned that maybe this is an image under copyright, get in touch with the website owner and ask them. It never hurts to ask. So kind of cool to be able to find it. And now, of course, before we leave that, we have to cite this source, right? So make sure that we do that. And you can even copy that information into the metadata behind, your picture, your digital file on your computer to make sure that you've got it.
Great idea. Great
Yes.
idea. I love this. You guys have any questions for Lisa? Let me, I wanted to share, my find. Let's go through the steps first.
Okay.
I love this. I can't wait to, now I don't even know what to do first. Am I going to look for newspapers? I'm going to look for images. I just know after at 4 o'clock, I'm doing some searching. So,
and you know what? Image search can give you newspapers as well.
Oh, that's true. That's
Clippings.
true.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go through the quick start for visualize your ancestors with Google. And you guys put some questions in there if you have some for Lisa Louise, but we do have some bonus stuff to show. Step 1, what do you want to visualize? So determine what you want to know. Step 2, identify the searchables. I got to get a new assistant. Step 3, add search operators. Step 4, run that search. Step 5, analyze what you get, like really closely, because you could have really gone past this. I could have gone past him standing there. Step 5 is to acquire the photo and cite the image. I love this, Lisa. Love. So back in the day when, you could get to the end of the internet with your county, like there was no way that anything went up on Barber County, Alabama that I didn't know about, or I would find out within a week. Like it didn't take that long for me. You get to the end. I've seen everything.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that today. But one day I was middle of the night. That's when the great things happen, in the middle of the night. So if you feel that urge to get out of bed and do research, go ahead and do it. And I did a search for Stanford Family, Barber County, Alabama. And I had been researching them for a year. I had them in the census records from 1930 all the way back to 1870. I had been seeing their names forever. And then one day I searched, and I'm looking into the eyeballs of my great-great-grandfather, Will Stanford, and his father, Green Stanford, who was an enslaved man. Oh my gosh, yes, this stuff works. She's not just making this up. This stuff really works. And this is I actually cried. Like, how can you not cry? I've never seen these pictures before, but I was so grateful to have them.
Such a great example that it could be anybody who's posting pictures. It could be a cousin you've never met. It could be a society. It could be an archive. I mean, and they're doing it all the time. Yeah.
All the time. So you had a couple. We have some time left. Did you have some extra stuff you wanted to share?
Well, I have a little bonus that I wanted to show you. Do you have those images that I sent you?
I have. Just show the first one.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So remember I said I had a photograph that looked almost identical to the one that we saw. And you might have a photograph of a place or a person or something. You can actually upload the photo and use that to search at google.com. Now, You can't actually do it technically at google.com. What you're going to do is if you've ever gone to google.com, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little images word. You click that link and it will take you to images.google.com. This is a dedicated search engine just for images. And what makes it unique is that it has a camera icon in the search field. Now, this is going to be a little different on mobile. And so I'm talking desktop right now. But when you click that camera icon in the search box, this is what you're going to get. You can paste the URL to a specific image that's already online. Maybe it's on your website, maybe it's on somebody else's. Or you could click upload an image and you can upload your picture. Now, you're not publishing it to Google. What you're doing is giving Google the picture so it can quickly check it against all the other images it knows about online and find where else is that image. This is a way to also check who's out there, slamming my image all over the place that I didn't get permission to. But it's also a way to find similar images from the same era. And so if you go to the next image there, look at this. I uploaded the photograph that you see at the top. Okay. And it says, oh, this is a horseless carriage exhibition. And so it's going to give you a couple of websites it thinks will be good for this. It's going to say we have some visually similar images. Now, right now, current technology, Google's going to, oh, that's okay. Google's going to say, I see a horseless carriage. I see people. I see an event, right? But it's not necessarily going to spot, not that they don't have the capability to tell you exactly who each person is facial recognition wise, but that's not available right now.
Right.
But if you keep scrolling down, let's go to our next picture. Don't get discouraged that they just gave you a bunch of cars, because guess what? These are all the websites who've already used that photograph.
Oh.
So you know what this does for us is it tells us, if you're wondering, is this in the public domain? Am I allowed to use this? Or, whatever. If you see it listed like this, yes, it's most likely in the public domain. All these different places are using it. And you might even find the original website that hosted it originally.
And more information, different types, they might provide different details about the same event. I love this.
Lots you can do.
So how did you get to this one? Just by scrolling?
I just scrolled down the results page.
That's a whole, scrolling is a technique.
It is. Yeah.
We miss a lot because we don't scroll.
It's so true.
We just sit there.
Exactly.
Let's see. So Anne said that for image searches, because she tends to be on the phone most of the time, she uses lens icon in Google Photos to search.
Yeah, it's not the same thing, my friend. And so, Anne, if you want to do this on mobile, what you'll need to do is actually go into at least on an iPhone, you have to go into the settings and go into like the Safari app and tell it, I want to see the desktop version of these websites. The desktop version will show you the camera icon at images.google.com. Otherwise, you won't see it in the app. Google Lens is awesome. I teach on that and it's in the book, but that's not the same thing.
And speaking of the book, let's just solo you so we can see that book, and we got to get out of here. And this isn't your only book. I know this, Lisa Louise.
No, but it's the most current. It's the latest and greatest, and it has all the dozens and dozens of search operators and how to use them for genealogy, plus all the Google Earth stuff.
All right. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. I don't know who I'm going to go. Am I going to do some Google stuff? Am I going to do newspapers?
Newspapers.
Like, what are you guys doing now? Are you going to do newspapers? You're going to Google? I don't know. Whatever it is.
They're going to be up all night.
Yes, all night. Get yourself some refreshments now. Thank you so much, Lisa Louise. We so appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching
Good to
today.
see you, my friend.
Bye.
Good to see you.
Lisa,
Bye.
don't leave.